I started in the Bomar Glass and Mirror building on Secor Road in 2001 with nothing. I consider myself a prize fighter. Right. I have taken a lot of punches. I've been knocked to the canvas. I've been beaten. I've been cheated. I've been stolen from. But I get up. I get up every time. And now I'm up, you know?
Right.
And there's a great quote, which is, you'll never meet a hater doing better than you. So all these people who've done me wrong, they're not doing better than I am. Most entrepreneurs who ultimately become successful recognize that their time is more valuable, focused, and not doing everything.
I'm Andy Golding, partner and chief strategy officer of Kripke Enterprises, and very excited about today's episode of Toledo Works. In this podcast, I speak with a business owner to uncover his stories of success, struggles, and achievements. This podcast is sponsored by Kripke Enterprises. At Kripke, recycling metal is not just good for the environment, it's good for business. This podcast is produced by Stewart Media Strategies. Today, I am thrilled to introduce a friend, a lawyer, and just an all-around decent human being. Stevin Groth of Groth Associates. Groth Associates offers legal advice and services for personal injury, criminal defense, and family law, all led by Stevin. The firm is renowned for its strong client advocacy and successful legal outcomes.
Sounds good.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
It's fantastic to be here.
I appreciate it.
But my pleasure.
Before we get into the podcast, and I want to make sure the microphone's close up to you because this is the good stuff.
You don't want to miss this.
No, you don't want to miss this. All right. So it is, it's January, what's the date today?
16th.
It's January 16th. A lot of people are in dry January. I made a deal with everybody that I was going to be off social media except YouTube. So I haven't been on LinkedIn or TikTok or anything, but I have been allowed to go on YouTube. And while I have been on YouTube, I have become obsessed with high stakes blackjack guys. Okay. And there's a couple of guys, Steve Will Do It and Dana White, that are out in Vegas. Yeah. And these guys play high stakes blackjack, and I just can't get enough of it. Now, Stevin, I know through when I was on social media, Stevin is a Vegas guy, and you're staying at some nice places. And before we get in all the legal stuff,
sure,
give me your, how do you do Vegas so well? How does it work for you?
It's the same advice as it is in business. This is actually a nice start.
Good.
So the whole story of Vegas is stay in your lane. If you stay in your lane in Vegas, you will win every single time, whether you win money or not.
Okay.
So the little side hustle is this. You find the right casino that you enjoy. It might be the restaurants that you like. It might be the shows they have. It might be the bars, whatever it is. And you put your play there. When you put a little play in, they're going to give you some offers to come back.
Right.
And the more you stay and play, the more you get offers to come back. If you're getting huge offers of free money to play and free meals, you're losing too much money gambling. But the hustle is to just get those free rooms and a little bonus here and there, some freebies, some of this stuff. And then you stay in your lane. You know, if your lane is $25 blackjack, you shouldn't be betting $100, right?
Okay.
If it's $5 on the slot machine or $20 or, $3.50, God bless, that's what you do. And then what happens is you get value for those hotel rooms, value for your freebies, which offsets your gambling. And you can do it over and over again without getting crushed. So I always say I'm undefeated in about 30 trips to Las Vegas because I never get crushed. My other little deal is if I'm there for 3 nights, I have 3 nights worth of money. That's my lane. If I run out on day 1 of the money, then, we're going to do something else.
Sure.
And so same with business or anything else in life, you got to kind of control. I wish it was more exciting. Like, here's my secret strategy, Andy, where you can, you got to double down on Tuesday at 4 p.m. and you're going to come out ahead. But it's, and of course, a little bit of luck never hurts. And the other thing too is, of course, slot machine players, which I'm a slot machine guy. I love the ADD nature of it. And the excitement. Blackjack's a great game. It's got the best odds. So, you're basically 50-50 with the house. Slot machines are much longer odds, but you get a point every time you press the button. So
Right.
you're building those comps. Whereas in blackjack, if you sat down at $25 a hand blackjack and you lose 6 hands in a row, you might be out for that session.
Right.
Whereas with the slot machine for $150, you're going to build your comps. You're going to play for a while, and you might really win something big. It happens.
I've seen it. I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
watch these guys on YouTube. Now,
Right.
half the time they only show them when they were winning.
Of course, right,
but,
right. It's edited.
For sure.
Right.
So, when you are an attorney in town and when you're doing the type of legal work that you do, which probably gets very heavy, is Vegas a place where you feel like you not that you release there, but you can take the burden of some of the heaviness off your shoulders? Is that why you like it as well?
I can give you a few stories here.
Yeah.
One is when I was a very young attorney, I went to a conference there and I was broke. I had no money. I had, I think, $200 in my wallet and 1 credit card. I wasn't yet the points and miles credit card hustler that I am today. And I remember seeing these lawyers who were very successful, and they were talking about these big cases. And, I started in the Bomar Glass and Mirror building on Secor Road in 2001 with nothing.
Right.
And I went to this conference and I saw these people and I thought to myself, I'm going to come back to Vegas. I'm going to be successful. In fact, on that trip, I ate at the La Salsa at the food court because you could pile the free salsa on so I could get a bigger meal. And I was also pretty fit and working out at that time. But, and so to me, Vegas was sort of like the Holy Grail. Like, I'm going to come back here successful.
Right.
So in that regard, it was like a challenge to me, which thankfully I've been able to have some success and enjoy. Also, like you said, I get to stay at some nice hotels. These are fantastic hotels with great amenities. So for like 3 days, I'm a millionaire.
Right.
I live like a king. And as you may know, I eat like 2 kings. So, I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying some of the finest food. Vegas is probably the best food town in America in the most concentrated area.
Right.
French Laundry in Napa is amazing. New York City has its charms. LA is amazing. But Vegas, you name it,
Yeah.
from In-N-Out Burger to Joel Robuchon's,
Sure.
I mean, you got it. Michelin star to
What is
whatever.
your Vegas hotel? Where is your Lane hotel?
I spend a lot of time at the Cosmopolitan,
Okay.
which is next to the Bellagio. But I have a pretty good thing going where I get comped up, and I, like my friends, we're going at the end of the month. I got a friend staying at the Park MGM.
Okay.
I'm hooking my son up at a bachelor party at the Link, all comped, and I'm staying at the Cosmo.
That is, I love
and
it.
all on a budget. I'm
Right.
telling you, it's there's no insanity here.
So I've known Stevin for a long time. And when I first met Stevin, and this is what is so interesting about Stevin's story. So Stevin has been referred to as, or many years ago, Stevco.
Yeah.
Because Stevin was an entrepreneur that had you had your fingers in a lot and aspirations for even more. And I don't know if at that time you were an attorney-ish and an entrepreneur first. But what I have noticed and what I want to hear more about is from this was 20 years ago, from the time you were Stevco to now you are Stevin Groth, attorney at law with a sizable law firm. What changed?
It's great. Gary Cook, judge, Lucas County Common Pleas Court, and I were prosecutors together.
Okay.
He gave me that Stevco nickname, like Ronco, Stevco, right? No doubt the single most important thing that changed was focus. It's true that when I got started, I came here from California. I didn't know anybody. I didn't go to school here. And I've always been entrepreneurial, and I wanted to sort of make my mark. And so I did. I was probably too aggressive. I tried to do too many things at once. And that is a mistake, unless you have very deep pockets. If you can afford to hire staff and all that you do, no problem. I, on the other hand, was like Robert Townsend in the Hollywood Shuffle. I was financing everything on my credit cards.
Right.
Bad strategy. Right. Not the worst strategy, but not the best strategy. So certainly,
it's the best strategy if it all turns out.
If it's the only strategy you got,
right?
So, but So again, I've suffered the slings and arrows of, debt and debt service and all that. Always figured out a way because I think that's what you always have to do.
Which is truly entrepreneurship in itself.
Man, no doubt. I somewhere in all of this, I want to work in this analogy, which is I consider myself a prize fighter. Right. I have taken a lot of punches. I've been knocked to the canvas. I've been beaten. I've been cheated. I've been stolen from, but I get up. I get up every time. And now I'm up, Right. And there's a great quote, which is you'll never meet a hater doing better than you. So all these people who've done me wrong, they're not doing better than I am. So the answer is focus. Right. And the difference between me, back then I was all over the place. Shame on me. Paid a big price for it. Took a lot of, probably slowed me down, but everything has a way of working out. These days, with almost exclusivity, it's this law firm and the things I do, the coaching, the investment in the firm, it's good stuff.
So what was, when you're in the thick of it and, you had all the balls in the air and, you mentioned ADD. So there's a lot of that and a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of the people, that we see coming in here, they're managing a lot of balls, sometimes because they have to, sometimes because they want to. And what changed when you said, you know what, I'm going to be a fucking attorney full time. And I have to let the other stuff go and make my focus there.
Right. Two analyses here. One, I think that most entrepreneurs who ultimately become successful recognize that their time is more valuable, focused, and not doing everything. There's a great book called Buy Back Your Time. The name escapes me. I think it's maybe Barnett. Buy Back Your Time. It's a powerful idea because the truth is I was doing everything. I was the GSD guy, get shit done.
For sure.
So I could do everything and did for years. Whatever it was, if I needed to do this much, I do that much. If I needed to do, and there are times still where I'll have 26 court appearances in a single week in probably 11 different courthouses all across Northwest Ohio. I still, on some level, struggle with this because I have a very vibrant practice, but I also have to manage my business. So the change for me was just the idea that slowly but surely, I'm buying back my time. Where I had no administrators, I now have 3. I have an outstanding admin. Was my first real sensible hire. I've had some wonderful people who've worked for me before, but she's like an all-star. I always say she's not worth her weight in gold. She's worth my weight in gold, which is a lot, just to be clear. So she's awesome. Then I hired a full-time director and coordinator for our family law group, which we've developed an exciting product. I'd love to mention it at some point. And then thirdly, I have hired a full-time client success manager to really focus. In fact, I brought you some swag today. I brought you a cup. I brought you a bag. So
I love it.
I know it's a little free form here and keeping me on topic may be difficult, but what we often forget is that everybody's looking to market, and I know you're a marketing guy, looking to market to the world when you already have this client base that thinks you're the greatest.
Right.
And you got to remarket to them and make them feel valued and such. So we've got this client success manager. We've really been focused in on reaching back out to our existing client base. But again, focus. I started attending a quarterly management in Atlanta. I go there 4 times a year plus 1. They come here 4 times a year. We do some on-site trainings.
So that is tell me a little bit more. It's law firm training.
Law firm training. It's a company called CRISP. They started as a media company doing video.
I've seen it before.
Yeah,
sure.
We do if you get YouTube, which you do, you may see our ads running on there. They place all that. So they started as a media company for videos. It wasn't quite right for me. Then they hit social media. We could do that ourselves. We had an in-house person. But when they got the law firm coaching thing, it was like it clicked. You asked me, when did this change happen? And in some respects, really about 2 years ago, we got serious about this and sort of embraced the idea that, I used to run my law firm like a fraternity house. It was wild and woolly.
Right.
And we were successful in spite of that because that cult of personality and the ability to outwork everybody and do all that stuff. But another of your guests, I think it was Hanson's guy,
Brian,
or maybe it was him, talked about systems.
Yeah.
I think so.
That was Brian.
Brian. So systems, again, for the people who are going to listen to this, the business owners, if you want the simplest and best advice, it's you got to develop your systems and you got to develop people. And then you replace your time so that you're not doing everything, you're doing the right things. And, that's it. So I turn the jets on.
Wow. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thanks.
So what, people I ask, whenever I meet an attorney, I always ask a couple of simple questions, like what was your biggest case and what was your craziest case,
Yeah. I mean, this is a entree to that story is that I've had 6 national and international, 1 international and 6 national cases from Toledo, Ohio.
That you have,
that I've been involved in.
Okay.
So, when people think, I can't be successful or we can't do a big thing or whatever, you can do from anywhere.
Right.
You can, look, the Cake in a Cup lady,
right.
National acclaim, right? A cupcake shop in Toledo, Ohio, right?
It's my best customer on the podcast.
Right. So, I love the entrepreneurial story because to me, it's about the freedom. This is the freedom. When I tell you I get to go to Vegas, it's because I'm my own boss. When I worked at the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office, I had to put a slip in to ask to go, and sometimes I couldn't go, and it drove me mad.
Right.
I wasn't really designed to work for other people. I work well with people. Nobody works for me. Not one person works for me.
Everybody works with you.
They work with me. Absolutely. Right. In fact, this year we closed from the Friday before Christmas all the way through New Year. Closed the whole firm, paid everybody. Everybody had that vacation time.
That's
amazing. And it was fantastic. Yeah. Life is short and everybody they got the shopping ahead of Christmas holidays, or whatever holiday they celebrate. And, right. And we just do some good things. Yesterday, Martin Luther King Day, we traditionally have been open. Weather was miserable. Just said, I'm closing the office. Everybody go home.
Right.
So we got way far afield. We were talking about something else, weren't we? I took you right off.
That's
took
okay.
You right off subject.
Look,
didn't I?
I know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
All
My
right.
biggest cases.
Yes.
You told me. So
you know what? Before we get to your big one, tell me a case that's just friggin' interesting.
Sure.
Like something that or crazy. I see this.
Yeah.
They say that life is life is crazier than TV.
Yeah. Or life imitates art. I think,
all of it. Give me something good.
Sure. I do handle very serious criminal offenses. Murder. I've tried murder cases in several states. It gets very real, in people's lives. What I would say first is that most people charged with murder are not evil people. They have made horrible choices or mistakes, or their emotions ran high. So now I have run into a few people that you would not want to meet, probably. Very few.
Right.
Most people are it's just so unfortunate. They're just average Joes who maybe punched somebody in a bar and killed them accidentally, That's murder.
That's no good.
It's rough. Yeah. So people make these, very difficult choices. I mean, I've got, one of my favorite stories is a guy who I met about this time of year. I got his attorney quit on him, and the court asked me to take the case. It was a court-appointed case. I used to do. I don't do it as much, but I still occasionally, if asked, will handle a court-appointed case.
Sure.
The guy says to me, I'm innocent. So I get his record, and I mean, it's like, I think it had 80 entries, 80 different crimes this guy had committed in his life. And he's charged with armed robbery. He stuck a shotgun in several people's faces and stole their Christmas presents. And they find him outside of a 7-Eleven, and the police chase him. He throws the shotgun out of the car and crashes the car with everybody's stolen goods in the back of the car. He's innocent today, right? That guy's innocent today. Do you want to know why? You want to know how? And I will tell you, in the middle of the case, I come into court one day and he says to me, hey man, Mr. Groth, I'm innocent. You got to help me out here. I swear to God. He says, you don't look too happy today. I said, well, I got to be honest. My wife gave me a lot of grief for not shoveling the driveway. He goes, man, if you get me out of this, I will shovel your driveway every day. And I gave him a look and he goes, I know your wife don't want me at your house. I said, listen, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
I'll come to the jail. It was Christmas Eve. I'll come to the jail tonight. We will go through everything. I said, we got 2 eyewitnesses that you stuck a gun in their face and they caught you with the shotgun and a crashed car and all these gifts. I said, but we're going to take a look at everything. So we get to the jail. We're going through everything. And I have the lineup where he's identified as number 2. Now, I mean this in the nicest possible way, but as a black gentleman in a black and white photo, it looks like 6 ink blots. So I said to him, Mr. Smith, I used to work as a county prosecutor. I know the sheriff's guys. I'm going to get us the color pictures. My guy's number 5. Number 2 is who was identified, and everybody just agreed that it was the same guy. My guy stole the bad guy's car outside a 7-Eleven.
What?
And it wasn't him, so he got credit for time served for receiving stolen property, and home he went.
Wait a minute. Your guy stole the bad guy's car?
He stole the bad guy's car.
Oh, because he probably left the car running.
He left the car running at a 7-Eleven because it was the middle of winter. And my guy opportunistically, with a 80-line record and probation violations, he was looking at like 42 years for armed robbery, went home. He never shoveled my driveway, but I didn't ask him to. Wow. How about that, right? I love that story.
That's unbelievable. But how do you keep how do you not carry your biases into that? Is that just practice? I mean, I don't think I could go to the jail and I would be like, dude, just admit it. Let's make a deal. I don't get it.
No, you're not wrong. I think we all do. I mean, we all carry our natural biases.
Right.
I like chocolate more than vanilla. You like coffee without cream. I like it with cream. But I think the professional in me knows that I have an obligation, and this is often the tension between entrepreneurship and business. And the law. My job as a lawyer, sometimes it has to come first. So even though I should spend time managing my business, I've often not managed because I owe guys like that. So I go in, I try to have an open mind. I didn't believe him. Of course, who would? He was identified by several people as sticking a shotgun right in their face. I mean, you don't forget that, right? But as it turns out, because you have a certain amount of professionalism and, rigor, it's just like anything else. It's like anything else. So, wow. that's a great story. I mean, I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I worked on the University of Toledo point shavings case. It was a federal case in Detroit. That's another good story. The day I met my client, they wanted him to spend 6 years in prison. 6 years later, he went home on probation. He was the youngest player who was clearly under the sway of all the senior players. He was just a freshman, a little kid. And they had this whole thing going on. And, didn't sell him out, didn't plead him out, didn't give up. I was the last man standing with another Detroit attorney who represented Keith Triplett, as a matter of fact. I mean, these are public records. And we fought our way all the way through. And so that was great. I've been very fortunate to have all that kind of, good cases. We have good client reviews. We have good rapport, good reputation, which is golden.
Is fighting, being the last man standing, is that, as an entrepreneur, obviously, you get knocked down, you get back up. But is part of being a good attorney just willing to stay to the end and outwork the opposite side?
Not always. No.
Okay.
No. I think outwork is part of it. You should know your case better than anybody else. I mean, that's number one. But also, you have to know the timing and the scenario. In the federal system, there's a benefit to resolving cases quickly and taking responsibility. And federal system is very different than the state system. For anybody who's not familiar with it, state system is a little more flexible. There's all sorts of this and that. Federal system works on a matrix, criminal history across the top, the category of case down the row. It's a matrix. The higher up you go, the lesser the charge, the closer you get to little criminal history, the better. if you plead quickly and work cases out, you get a benefit moving up the chart. And the feds don't, very rarely do the feds get it wrong. But in this case, my client, I felt like they got it wrong and that we needed to hang in there. So it's not very common, and that's why it's all the more interesting.
Wow.
So it's good stuff. Yeah.
So what is it like when you win a big case like that?
The hardest thing is to represent an innocent person because it's tremendous pressure. A number of years ago, I represented a decorated Army officer who was falsely accused of sexual assault and abuse. And we went to trial and we won. And when the jury said not guilty, he leaned forward and, I honestly think he was crying by the time he leaned back up. And he gave me a hug that I'll never forget. And this is a guy who was a, military guy putting his life on the line for our country. And he's hugging me and, it's pretty spectacular.
Right.
But it's worse to lose, because you feel like, what more could I have done? What should we have done? What was the right thing to do here? And this is real life pressure. It's not like I always say, a stolen car case is not that big a deal, relatively speaking, but you represent people who are falsely accused of rape or murder or any number of other very serious crimes, which we handle, state or federal. It's heavy lifting. That's why I need to go to Vegas and enjoy myself.
I think you have to get away from it at some point.
Yeah.
So, just so I have an idea, if God forbid you're accused, when someone is accused of murder or arrested for murder, how long is it like until they go to prison from the time they're arrested? Because I've seen you on TV, I've seen you in the newspaper. What is the time frame?
Oh, it's a fluid concept. In some cases drag on for a very long time, depending on what's necessary in the case, expert witnesses, court calendar, in custody, out of custody. There's no set period of time. I'll be honest. There's none.
Okay.
The courts have some obligation to resolve cases in about 6 months. They call them superintendency rules. And you try to keep the judge happy by resolving it in that period of time. But sometimes you need more time. You just do. You have out-of-state witnesses. You have an expert report that's necessary, whatever it might be. So there's, it's always easier when people are out of custody, because you hate to have somebody sitting in jail as the clock ticks. It's very lonely. But I will usually tell those folks, I'd rather have you sit here for 6 months than 16 years.
Right. For sure. Have you ever gotten in trouble in court like you see on TV? Is court like TV?
No, not at all.
Not really. Not
at all. No.
So can you even watch those court
Not
TV?
much. I don't.
Really?
No, I don't watch much.
Because it's more documents and it's more
They move along in very fast, like it all happens in 5 minutes. What I will say is I used to watch a lot of Law and Order.
Right.
And I love those prosecutors, Ben Stone.
Right.
And Sam Watterson. These guys were pretty close to the way it was.
Really?
Pretty good. Yeah, they were good and pretty straightforward because, when you're a prosecutor, and I have great respect for prosecutors, I was one, you're there to establish the elements of the offense and prove people's guilt. You're not there to persecute people. You're not there to do everything you can to theoretically convict. You're there to just present the evidence, let a jury decide, do your job. That's respectable. Defense attorneys, we have to be more entertaining because sometimes the evidence is not great for our guy.
Right.
But sometimes it's questionable. Like, can they really prove all this? But it's not, TV. First of all, you never, ever, ever have your client in the room with the prosecuting attorney and a detective to talk about anything. That never, ever happens. Number one. Number two, for those of you at home, never say anything to the police ever. We clear about this? Everybody wants to talk. Oh, right. If I can explain it,
I've heard
the
this.
detective will be, I'm sure he'll be happy to hear what I have to say. But the problem is, no, they don't care what you have to say. They really want to get you to confess. They want you to explain it. So,
all right. Anyway. So I want to talk about your other things, but I also want to give some people some advice as well, some law advice. And, in your experience, when is the right time, before we get to family law, criminal law, when is the right time to call an attorney?
Yeah. Right away. There's just no, the reality is that you don't want to say anything to anybody, because everything you do creates evidence. You send a text to your sister, it's evidence. You do a Google search. I've had cases where the Google search comes right in a testimony. How do they fight extradition from Costa Rica? Oh, that's a bad thing for an innocent person to be texting, right? To do. So the short answer is, realistically, most good attorneys will offer a free consultation in criminal defense.
Right.
Just get that consultation. Call anybody. I always say, call somebody you trust who has real trial experience.
Okay.
That's what you want.
So, and where does that happen? So if someone is, you're in a bar fight, what happens and then I want to, like I said, no. So tell me what happens if you're in a bar fight, you don't kill anybody. You're just in a bar fight and you get arrested. Right. What happens after that?
Yeah. I mean, in theory, if you're arrested, you're going to go to jail.
Right.
You're going to sit until they set a bond for you.
Right.
Maybe a little while, depending on the jurisdiction. Maybe a cash bond. It may be a release bond. Many times we get a call from a family member, hey, Fred's in jail, and we try to get him out. If you're in the Toledo jurisdiction, we can get a weekend bond. If you're in Sylvania, you're going to sit all weekend. And then you're going to hope that you get a bond and you get seen and all that. And then it's a process from there. You're in the middle of it. And don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just nothing. You're not going to help yourself out. You're not going to talk your way out of it, especially in this Me Too era, but also in what I would call a victim first era. There was Marcy's Law is a new Victims' Rights Act. Good for that. It's good. I respect that. We live in the same society. We can be victims too. We want those rights, but the victims have tremendous power now. And most detectives are going to just think, we'll let the world sort it out. If Mrs. Smith says, you stole my purse, you stole the purse, I'm going to arrest you. We'll let the world figure it out.
That's how it works now.
A little bit how it works, yeah. You're innocent until proven guilty, but you're not innocent for purposes of bond. You're presumed guilty for purposes of bond.
And what is a bond?
A bond is the money they set on your head to allow you to get out for two purposes. One, to protect the public and make sure you return to court. That's what bond is for.
And that's what bail bondsmen do?
Bail bondsmen, yeah.
Okay. So somebody gets arrested, they go to jail, have their family members call you or someone like you. Okay. Yeah. So now that's one aspect of your business.
Yes.
So now you have the family law group. What is that?
Sure. And what I guess I would say is, we have this duality where I am the busiest attorney doing all this work. I have great attorneys who work with me also, so I'm very busy, but then you have the whole management component. So we really have three major areas. We do a little bit of everything. But this new family law thing, what I realize is a tremendous need in the market for two things. One, there's just a need in general for family law lawyers. But what also, which the product I take some pride in this, I developed myself, called Affordable Family Law Ohio, AFLO, Affordable Family Law Ohio. We developed and there's a whole website, Affordable Family Law Ohio. It's a product for hardworking people who can't afford the mega attorney to fight the $1 million divorce. When I worked as a county prosecutor, I made $25,000 a year. I could not afford a $3,500 retainer for an attorney. Thankfully, I didn't need one at the time. But so I sympathize, and I realize there's so many people, they need help, and this family law stuff's so personal. It's your children, it's child support, it's spousal support, it's visitation, it's moving, it's all these things, and yet they can't get anybody to help them because they don't have $2,500, $3,500. So we developed this essentially program where we have a very reduced retainer, $750 to $1,000, which is more doable. And then we fix the monthly pay no matter what, $525 worst case scenario. So you can budget and you got a good attorney. Our firm's very good. We do good work for people, have quality folks, and not just average folks. I mean, these are good attorneys with 30 years of experience or more and really experienced in their craft, who will represent you, and we treat everybody the same, which is just like you. We want a 5-star review for this podcast, by the way.
Yes,
right.
Thank you.
We want, yeah. So, so we've created this whole market, and I will tell you, we can't hire enough attorneys to fill the need. It's sad, but it's true. So so that's been great for us. And of course, we do have a very nice personal injury. Did you play B'nai B'rith softball?
One season, I think.
Right. My buddy Steve Crossmock, not Jewish, but did play B'nai B'rith softball. Anyway, he's an all-star, and, we go at those big personal injury cases. We've handled some, tragic and horrific cases, and sadly. But, we're there for people. So.
What's a typical personal injury case?
Mrs. Smith's driving down Central Avenue. She comes to the red light, and behind her, Susie Jones is not paying attention and smacks the back of her car. She's sore but not critically injured, feels okay. The police come out an hour later and do a report. The next day she wakes up sore. She goes to the emergency room or, in best case scenario, and then the emergency room sends her to her family doctor who tells her 3 weeks of physical therapy, you'll be fine. In 3 weeks, she's fine. She's run up $3,000 or $4,000 in medical bills. The case settles for $7,000 to $10,000. She puts a few thousand in her pocket. The doctors get paid. We try to negotiate down those bills. Hopefully, she puts everything on her health insurance, which is good advice to everybody. That's your average case. It's not the catastrophic loss that you see.
Right.
Those happen, sadly, and we've had everything from, seven-figure death cases to Mrs. Jones, who was hit from behind by Mrs. Smith.
Right.
So,
it seems like when you get hit from behind now and there's any damage to your car, there is an attorney for the other person's insurance company, or maybe it's just the other person's insurance company that wants you to sign and settle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the right advice? Should you be contacting an attorney?
Here's what I would say. Generally bad advice, because those are insurance adjusters, and their job is to adjust down the amount of money the insurance company has to pay.
Right.
So if they settle quickly before you get medical treatment or fully checked out, you're done. You sign off.
Right.
Bad advice. Sometimes people will call me and say, look, I was in this car accident. I wasn't injured. I didn't even go to the hospital. I feel fine. My bumper was ruined. I say the insurance company will take care of that. You don't need our help. We don't send people home with neck braces and crutches. We don't send them to a Fred the chiropractor. Fred's a great name, but it could be Stan the chiropractor. And, for 6 weeks of chiropractic treatment. If you're legitimately injured, we're happy to help you.
All right, so now I have one of my closing questions for you. And this one I always am I'm not a drinker, okay? But I feel like this is like the advice that people need to hear, okay?
Don't blow.
We'll
What's
get to
the question?
So it's your birthday. Yeah. So you're out at the bar.
Yeah.
Now, my personal deal with my family is if we're arguing about me or anybody driving, they're not driving.
Yes.
If you're arguing about it, you don't get to drive. Right. So, I'm not a big drinker. So, but I'll use me as an example.
Sure.
I'm out. I have 2 beers. Okay. Yeah. I had a full dinner. I drank them over. Maybe I drank them at B-Dubs, and maybe they were a little bigger than just 2 cans of beer.
Right. Beer. Right.
Right. And
is the beer this sized, or is it king sized? Is it right?
So I had what I would consider 2 beers. And I feel fine.
Okay.
And my tail light, my sticker. I've been pulled over because my sticker was expired. Have you? I just heard this recently. The first question a lot of police officers ask you is, "Where are you coming from?"
Sure.
And take me from that point on.
Right. So there's a certain time of night where the officers are fishing. They already know. After 11, from 11 to 3 a.m., right? People are probably, if they're out on the road, they are probably coming from a bar, especially on weekends, right?
Right.
So there's a little heightened view of their part. All they need is what's called probable cause to pull you over. Tail light, registration, didn't use your blinker, change lanes without signaling, whatever it might be. So what'll happen is that when they approach the vehicle, they're looking for clues to determine if you're an impaired driver. So the first thing they'll normally ask is license and registration. And while they're doing that, they're checking a number of things. They're smelling for alcohol. They're determining your demeanor. How do you look? How are you responding? How are you looking through your wallet? How are you looking for the papers? Are you thick-fingered? Are you struggling with that? Because what they're building is the clues to to allow them to continue to escalate this stop into what they call a probable cause, to then escalate the stop to a OVI investigation, where now they can ask you out of the car to do the field sobriety tests, nystagmus, all that stuff. So not very entrepreneurial, but certainly very legal.
Right.
So, I answered your question up front, and I'll answer it again. So the problem is, the real answer is don't drink and drive.
Of course.
If you have more than probably one good-sized drink, even though it seems hard to imagine, you're probably better off not driving.
Right.
Because the danger is, again, two parts. One, whatever size beers you had, you may think I only had 2 beers. But if they were 32-ounce beers, that's 4 16-ounce beers, right? That's 8 8-ounce beers.
Right.
That's a lot of alcohol.
That's a lot of beer.
And then oftentimes people tell me, man, I just had 2 drinks. Did you make the drinks yourself? No. Do you know how much liquor was in the drink?
Right.
No. Is it common for bars to overserve people to make it a festive and exciting atmosphere? Yes, it is. Are they liable for that? No, they're not. You are. You're the adult here. So, I usually just tell people you got to use very good judgment. And you're right. If it shouldn't even be a discussion. If you think I've had enough, I'm not going to drive. Has everybody we know, probably every one of our friends, done it? Sure. Is it a judgment call? Certainly. But here's what happens. If you refuse the breathalyzer, you lose your license for a year, and you don't get driving privileges for 30 days on a first offense. It's much worse if you have priors. If you take the breath test and fail it, you also lose your license probably for a year.
Right.
You give the government all the evidence they need to prove that you're impaired, and you don't get your privileges for 15 days. So the only real benefit is you get your driving privileges a little bit early, but you've given the government the evidence that you're an impaired driver.
Right.
Whereas if you don't take the test, then we have an argument that, hey, my friend Andy had a couple beers at B-Dubs. He wasn't an impaired driver. You pulled him over for a non-impaired driving violation. It was a license plate light. And look at the video. He's doing great. He's fine, But if Andy takes the breath test and he blows a .135,
right,
he's impaired by law. You'd have to overcome that.
So don't blow.
So don't blow. It's tricky. Just
Wow.
be careful. Yeah.
Wow.
We do a ton of those. We do a lot of OVI work.
You do?
We do. So, but again, it's interesting because I'd like to bring you back to this whole business thing, which is, this is the business, which we've talked about. But then there's the whole management, which I started by giving you that gift. We have a whole client success thing where we are trying to retarget our clients. So we have a whole retargeting to our old clients. We're on YouTube and we do our Facebook, social media. We have 2 different, we have a giant SEO company that does tons of search engine optimization. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Yeah.
So we have a very established company out of Los Angeles, very happy with the work they do, plus a smaller company out of Idaho that does it for our family law. Then we have Facebook advertising through the Idaho group and through our Chris people in Atlanta. So we're doing a lot of work in online social media. As our friend Jeffrey Mann will tell us, I saw his podcast was excellent, a lot of similarities. So you got to have that social media component. Also, I hear his ads on the radio all the time. So somebody's doing
That's
a nice
the voice
job.
right there.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job.
So 20 years ago, you and I used to also compete in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
For another business. Yeah. And are you spending on social media and SEO activity more or less than you did in the phone book? And are you in a phone book now? Do they make phone books?
No phone books.
Okay. So you loved the phone book.
I was on the back cover for a while.
Right.
But I came in late. There were some big players who had big phone book ads. Then it sort of died down. And I thought to myself, I can get this at a discount. And I don't care if I only get 20% of the market, but at 10% of the price.
Right.
It's great. I'll take it. So I did. No, there's no more phone books. Yeah, we're in, we're 6 figures on SEO alone.
Wow.
And we are very engaged with social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. On our list of things to do, develop a podcast. It's all the rage.
Right.
So yeah, we're very engaged in that. But again, that's only half of it. If everybody's business is different, but really your existing clients are your raving fans.
They're your ambassadors.
They think you're great.
Right.
So why would you not treat them right. This year we sent most of our clients a blanket that said, "We got you covered." You know,
Sure.
It was just good marketing, good personal touch, and
well, they're the least cost to acquire a new customer. Is keeping a customer is a lot less expensive than acquiring a new one. Well, and what is interesting about this, and what I think is unique, when there was a phone book, you had some place to go. I mean, you're doing these things, sure, to advertise, but in reality, how would somebody find you? Like,
right. Oh, come on, Andy. It's right here. It's all right here. Everybody
agreed
goes right to their phone. They're going to look.
And if you weren't there, they couldn't find you.
Oh, in the good old days, right?
No, I'm saying now. If you are not doing SEO and you are not in those places,
absolutely,
you won't be found. There is no other way to get to you. Yeah. So I realize that it's advertising, but and you know this a lot better than I do because of your clients. A lot of times when you're in a bad situation, you forget how to manage your life. You become dumb. So the way that you're trying to reach out to people is helpful, because when they are in a bad spot, at least they have they can figure out a way to get in touch.
We answer our phones 24/7, 365. I do a ton of work on the weekends. I did a lot of work this weekend. I'm still very busy in my own practice, which is okay. I'm working to not be that guy. But you're absolutely right. They call. It's Monday, holiday day. Their friend's in jail. They need help. And somebody is there to answer their questions. And we're very low key, even though a lot of people, and for business advice, always be closing.
Right.
I'm not sure I totally ascribe to that method. I think my role is to give people honest advice and explain the scenario. If I'm the right person for them, great. I don't want to hard sell anybody. I always say, I'm not going to scare you into hiring me, and I'm not going to fluff it so you hire me. Oh, don't worry about it. Killing people's hardly a crime. Hire me. Great, no problem. Or, your son's going to go to prison for the rest of his life. You better bring me a huge amount of money,
right?
Or he's going to die in prison. I mean, that's horrible treatment of human beings. You can't be that way. But, you got to give them, you're that person and you're available to them. And of course, by building that rapport with the family and your client, that's how you get their trust. And then you can resolve cases where everybody's comfortable and they feel like you've done everything you can for them.
Right.
So,
wow.
Including going to the jail on Christmas Eve. Right.
That's horrible. So, all right. So the podcast, what is next? What is on the horizon?
Actually, we're very focused on doing exactly what we're doing. I've hired now 3 attorneys in the family law arena. We have another guy who's long hauler COVID guy coming back. I'm going to just keep hiring more attorneys. We're very fortunate. We just have a good team of people. And we have invested in our team also. So we do these coaching retreats. We're regularly doing a team engagement every month. We're trying to be, I saw on your front door, Kripke Enterprises, like best business to work at, right?
Right.
That's our motto. That's our goal.
I want to be best workplace of 2024.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I want for my team. I want, when we gave everybody that time off, and when we do all these things, buy lunch and all the good things that we do, it's because I want everybody who works with me to know that, we're the best and it's a great place. And we're getting there,
Culture is critical.
Culture is critical.
Especially for
great
young
books,
too.
Right. I mean, this is a great podcast for entrepreneurs and anybody in business. Because again, if you listen to Jeff Mann, Brian Elias, is that his name?
Yeah.
Was he the Hanson guy?
Yeah.
There was another guy, the real estate kid, Rubin.
Yeah, Matt Rubin.
Matt Rubin. I mean, all these guys, every one of them has a takeaway.
Right.
The woman on the cupcake, Ms. Jacobs,
yes.
Right? All these people have great takeaways, and of course, my buddy Jeff Mann, where I have spent a few dollars.
Sure.
But you know why? Because Jeff's great. He's local. He takes care of you. You feel like you're buying from a friend. Those are
his parents. His parents,
story, right?
mortgaged their house to open up
to put
his
him
store.
in business. That's right. Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. Of course, he honors their memory every day. You can tell. It's a good thing.
Stevco, this has been awesome, buddy. Thank you.
Man. I hope we
really
covered
appreciate
some good
it.
stuff.
I think we sure did. I really appreciate it. Thanks, buddy.
Man. My pleasure.
You got it.